All right, Terrence Pop here with another episode from the Lair. The semi-lair. Anyway. All right, today we're going to go on with some more stories about when shit went south. Number 3. All right, we're going to start off the first one here. It's kind of a downer. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but I went away to selection, Special Forces selection, and it was in 1991, July 1991 when it started. And they had just switched over from the old selection process to the new one, which mirrored the one that the SAS used over in England. And they hadn't really worked out all the kinks yet. And I remember I'm doing the land navigation, and I think we had to cover 36 kilometers in like an 8 or 10 hour period and get 6 points. And some of those points were really far apart. Now, I lucked out on this particular one because during the whole land nav process, it was so hot and fucked up that 2 people died that day. And then after the land nav portion was done, in the second week, we were doing team week, and 4 other people died. So that's that's 6 people who, basically, walked themselves out of their meat suit because of the heat, and they hadn't worked in all the controls yet. So it was pretty goddamn crazy. So I make it through selection, and I get done, I get selected, and I get a school date, which basically I had to come back a year later in 92 to start the course. So I'm doing the same land nav course. They call it the STAR course down there in Bragg. And they give you your points, your starting point. You're looking at, you're plotting out all your shit. And my first point went across this stream called Bones Fork. And it's a fitting name because if you go in there, you're going to get the bone. And they warn me. They're like, hey, Pop, don't go through there because it's overgrown real bad. You're going to have a hard time. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm an airborne ranger. I'm going to smash right through. Oh, yeah, right. So, we start off. I take off. I go down into Bones Fork because I'm going to try to make it around there or go right through it. I was stuck in there for 6 hours. It should have taken less than a half an hour. And it got so bad that at one point I was literally suspended off the ground by the thorn-covered wait a minute vines. Like I literally looked like Pinocchio. Like, oh! I mean, it was bad, man. It was bad. I'm bleeding. I'm all ripped up. So I come out the other side of Bones Fork. I make my first point. I look at my watch. I got like 2 hours to get 4 more because you got to get 5 out of 6. They want 6 out of 6. So now I got to bust ass. So I'm running my balls off. I get 3 more of the points, and I'm literally 400 or 500 meters away from the 5th point, and I hear the air horn. I ran out of time. I'm a no-go. Doesn't matter if I get the point now. It doesn't matter. But because I had run this entire way in the heat, the July heat, and I ran out of water, and I neglected. I was just fucked up. I'm literally, I have that voice in my head. I'm like, and I'm like, wow, I'm no longer sweating. This is bad. And I'm like trying to find my water, and I realized that I had drank all my water. In fact, one of my canteens was dragging in the dirt, empty, with the top off. Now it was full of sand, and it was tied to the goddamn dummy cords. So I'm like, okay. In the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, you got a small IV in your rucksack. You're gonna have to give yourself an IV. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, that's bullshit. You can't do it. Yeah. Well, you know what? You'd be surprised what you can do when death is on the line. I'm just saying. You got a minute. So I go off the road, slam a bayonet in the tree, hang up the IV, get the line started in the bag, 2 or 3 sticks in the arm. I finally get one in there, and I had to do a tourniquet. And I start my own IV. Yeah, I turned it up all the way. And it took about 15 minutes for it to roll through. And I swear to you, that little, it was only a quarter size thing of IV fluid. I swear to you, it saved my life, because I was there. I was about ready to go heat stroking out. And I remember I see the cadre, they go, oh, they go running down, with a truck down the road. And they're yelling for my name. They got the megaphone, Pop, where you at, man? So I'm like, oh. And they turn around, they see me from like 800 meters. They come running down there. And what's the first thing they say? What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. They're like yelling at me. And finally, I'm just like, I had to get myself, and I am fucked up. Oh. And they're like, oh. So they call the medic. The medic comes down, gives me 2 more bags of IV fluid. And because I failed the first time go through, because now I'm in the Q course, I'm no longer in selection. I failed the first time go at the Q course. And the next day, everyone has that off. And I don't, because the next day, 16 hours later, I'm doing the STAR course again. Which, this time, I literally pounded the water, and I said, you know what, fuck this dead reckoning bullshit. I'm not playing that game. So I handrailed roads, I did terrain association. I finished the whole goddamn thing with 2 hours to spare and got a gold max. I got all 6 out of 6 points. But don't ever underestimate shit or think you're too good for something, because when you do that, karma's going to pump you in the ass. Just like it did me that day. Okay, Special Forces Selection and Ranger School. They have these very long, extensive, intricate obstacle courses. Now, I don't know why they're so long and all the crazy shit they have going on there, but I saw all kinds of crazy injuries happen on these obstacle courses. Because I can almost guarantee you, when they tell you, oh, tomorrow we're going to do an obstacle course, you're all like, oh, it's just an obstacle course. It's not going to be that big of a deal. You're out of your goddamn mind. All right, so I remember we were climbing up this one rope, and you climb up a rope, and then you get on top of the pirate ship, and you go walk across these logs and slide down a pole. I'm on the rope to the left, and my rope looks just fine. The rope on the right is frayed a little bit. I don't think anything of it, because it's not my rope. I don't care. So, literally, there's a guy on the other rope. We're racing. I get to the top, and I'm putting my foot on there, and I get on top of the pirate ship, and he kind of slips a little bit. And on the way down, I don't know what happened, but his foot got caught up in the frayed rope, and he literally falls, and you can hear his hip come out of socket. It's like, and you hear him oh! And I'm up there well, I guess, yeah, he's not going to make it.
That's bad.
That's real bad. And I finished the obstacle. And then there's this other one where you walk across these logs, and then you climb up under the ladder, and then you fucking do the monkey bars. Again, I'm on the logs walking there, and this dude, he was a heavier guy. And this is in selection, so all different body types are there. They don't seem to realize that, certain body types just usually aren't going to make it. And he slips, comes down, and literally you can hear his balls just crush. Slides off. I might finish the obstacle. I look back, he's still screaming. Oh, he's not going to make it. Which is true. Yeah, he didn't make it. Yeah. What are you going to do? Okay, the last obstacle course thing. This one's a bad one. All right. It looks like a house, except you climb up and you basically, it's like platforms, and they're about 4 or 5 high, so it's about 3 stories high. And there's no safety line or ladders. You just basically, you gotta, it's a fucking nut roll. And if you fall off that when you get to the top, things are not gonna go well for you. So one of the cadre, he's up there yelling. He's got his megaphone on. He's verbally harassing us as we're going up this. He puts down the megaphone, takes 6 steps to the wood line to take a piss, And I shit you not, as soon as he makes the wood line, somebody falls off that platform almost all the way from the top and hits the megaphone. Broken hip. That guy didn't make it.
Shocker.
Oh my God, what a bummer. Guys get hurt all, and I don't know if they got rid of the obstacle course. I hope they didn't, because it does build character. I got this is a funny obstacle story here. All right. So one of the obstacles in selection is you go underground, and then you have to go down this tunnel, and the tunnel gets narrower to the point where you actually have to crawl, and there's a little bit of water in there, just enough to freak you out. And they're doing that because they want to find out if you have claustrophobia or fear of tight spaces. Because if you have any phobias, usually you can't make it into the special forces, because you're in all different environments and you never know one of those phobias is going to come up and fuck everything up. So there's a guy in front of me, there's a guy behind me, and literally we're like, trying to get through this thing. And the guy in front of me, he was one of those guys. Okay, he was one of those guys who was just, I guess he was claustrophobic, because he's like overloading, because you can hear that whining. He's like, it sounds like a tricorder from the first, Star Trek when it's overloading right before it explodes. Like he's really freaking out. I'm like, hey, get going, because I'm in water. It's cold, and I'm like, oh my God. All he's just doing is, and the guy behind me is like, what's going on? I go, I don't know. The guy in front of me is overloading or something. He goes, well, get him to move. And I'm like, come on, move. And he just was done. He was just done. He's like, so the guy behind me is like, put your head in his ass and push him. I'm like, oh, God damn it. I have to put my head in this dude's ass and low crawl, to push this guy out, so I can get, beyond him. And like literally, he was froze up. I had to climb over him to get beyond him. And we all finished up, and then the guy's counting, everybody comes out, and he's like, all right, now we're missing a guy. What's going on? I'm like, there's a guy down there whining. I think he overloaded. So that actually sent people down there to get him, and I don't think he made it. No, he didn't make it. That's the obstacle fails. All right. You go to a football game. There is a play, somebody gets a broken leg. The leg can be bent at a right angle. You will give him X amount of time. And you'll be like, all right, get him off the field. Let's get out of the game. But a guy gets speared in the nuts and breaks his cup. All the men stand up and go, oh. Because, like, literally, they're not affected, but you can hear all the dudes like, oh. No. Take your time. Give him some time. Give him some time. Give him a minute, goddammit.
5.
Can he walk it off? Stand him up. See if he can walk it off. Oh, he's walking. Oh, thank God. Am I wrong? All right. This shit is a story of about as south as it can go. This is on par with the Running for Your Life story. Again, I'm down south doing some stuff, and I go to a house that has armed guards, and there's a lot of women inside because things go on there.
If you know what I mean.
Okay. So one of the things I always did when I would go to an establishment, a house with guards that had women in it.
An establishment.
I'm not saying any names.
I think we're following here.
First thing I do is when I walk up, I'm like, hey, what up, hey? And I shake their hands. I go in and I buy them a beer and I bring it out to them, so they can see my face. Okay, and so they know that if anything happens inside said establishment, it's not me. Okay, it's not me. I am not going to be that guy who screws around in said establishment when people have shotguns outside. It's not happening. I'm totally cool. Because being on a two-way rifle range when somebody has shotguns and you're in pistol range is pretty much always a losing proposition. Just saying. So I'm at the bar, doing my deal, drinking, talking, doing our deal, and this fight breaks out, and it was pretty bad. Like, women were getting punched, everyone was getting punched, and I had my beer, and I'm literally like I can see the door, and they come in, and we make eye contact, and they just start shooting at people like to my left and right of me, like boom, 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 and like dudes are like there's like blood, like ropes of blood shooting out of some of these guys, and I'm like, and they just kind of look at me like, oh, and they ignore me, and I'm like, oh thank God I bought those guys beers. That's about as south as it goes right there, and like literally within 10 minutes, everyone that was shot was dragged outside. There was a mop out with Pine Sol, and everything was continuing as it had, like, not even a shooting had occurred.
It's like the obstacle course.
Yeah, it's like, get that guy out, he didn't make it. Here's another, I call this the Zodiac mishap. Okay, if you guys, I'm not talking about a Zodiac killer or anything like Blake was thinking. Okay, the military uses an inflatable rubber boat called Zodiac. And a lot of times it's for small, boat operations or beach insertions and stuff like that. Each Zodiac will hold anywhere between, 6 and 10, maybe 11 guys, depending on how you put them in there and how much equipment you have. But I was doing the scout swimmer stuff with the 2nd Ranger Battalion, and we were doing the boat operations, which was the base 4 or 5 days of the class. How to exit the boat, how to get picked up from the boat. They had different things going on. But we had like 5 or 6 boats out there. I think the oldest guy on one of the boats is like 26. The average age of everyone on these boats is probably 20. So what do you think happens when there's a little bit of downtime and you're on a rubber boat with an insanely powerful engine with a lot of horsepower? What do you think happened?
Joyride.
Exactly. So we decide we're all going to race. All right. We're all on the boat. And I'm not even driving. I'm like, because I'm just a dude. I'm like 2 guys from the front hanging onto the rope and like, whoa, God. I had my little, wetsuit on, and I took off my fins and I had them strapped on my back. And I had my mask over my forehead. And I'm holding on. And we're going none faster. The boat can go none faster. And we're all neck and neck because we're pretty much all the same. And there's a boat out there, and it kicked up a little wake, which nobody paid attention to until we hit it. So literally, I'm like, and the boat to our right hits the wake first, and it jumps right in front of us. Boom, 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 and we come right just over the top. And I remember there was a guy who was just like me, but he was sitting on the other boat. And for that just split second, we made like that face contact where he's getting hit by the boat and I'm not. So I'm hanging on to it, and he hits the front of the boat. He's like, oh, and then he just flies away. And next thing I know, I'm flying in the air, doing some crazy like cartwheel, like a rag doll, and I hit the water like a ton of bricks. And everyone on both boats, boom, just thrown everywhere. Thank God we had life preservers on, because there was a couple guys who were knocked stone cold out. And the dude that got hit with the boat, he actually had to have surgery on his spleen. So you're getting hit pretty hard when you have a semi-ruptured spleen. And they didn't really cut it out of him. I think they just went in there, they made a small incision and they went in there with one of those scopes. And they had like this organic compound that they used to basically epoxy the rip. And then he was on quarters for 6 weeks, but he was good to go. Healed up just fine. Nobody died. That was the only injury. I'm sure he didn't need that spleen much anyway.
That's exactly what you want to hear in the emergency. You don't need this, right?
No,
I was just gonna.
Hey.
Oh, you. All right, fine.
Now, do you object to me cutting some of your guts out that you may or may not need? No, you don't need them? All right, well. Last one, Rolex. Rolex, okay. Now, I told some stories back in the past how I found some Rolexes.
Fantastic moment.
It's a fantastic moment, yeah. But I actually had bought a Rolex at a pawn shop. Wasn't that expensive. I had it redone, fixed up and stuff. I was all proud of it, like, I got a Rolex, yeah. Okay, now there's a reason why Rolex has such a good track record with people in the military, because those are some tough-ass watches. So this is another Zodiac thing. We're just doing basically, this is just open water training with Zodiacs and stuff. And it was like a year and a half later. And we were doing the pickups. We were coming off of objective, we hit the beach, and then we swim out maybe 200 meters, and they come by with a Zodiac, and they pick us up. And they have this big ring, and you basically put your arm up, and then you hit the ring, and you go in. All right, so I'm waiting. I'm like third or fourth guy in line, and they get the guy in front of me, blah, blah, blah. And then the boat kind of took a weird hop off of its line of travel, and it's going to run me over. So I'm like, holy shit. So I try to get away. I kind of push to get to the side, and then I submerge. I'm not thinking that the propeller is this far below the boat. So I didn't make it. So literally, I can see the propeller coming like towards my face, and I put my hands up like this, and then it hits me, and I thought it cut my arm off, but it didn't. It hit the Rolex watch, tore it off my arm. I lost it in 40 feet of water. Gave me a cut, which I took like, I think 1 or 2 stitches, but that's it. I basically got to keep my hand. So that watch was well worth the cost of admission, let me tell you. Well, anyway, gentlemen, that's another episode of The Lair, When Shit Went South. And remember, anything can go south at any times. In fact, if you have some stories about when shit went south, comments below. You have a good evening.